Puka Nacua and Davante Adams are both top 3 plays this week against the injury-riddled Lions secondary. We reveal our full Week 15 wide receiver fantasy rankings on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Fantasy Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcasting network. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today is Crossover Thursday on the network, and Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Today, we're finishing our positional rankings with wide receivers for Week 15. And right at the top, what was very interesting to me is that you had Puka Nacua and Davante Adams both in your top 3, with Jackson Smith-Njigba right in there in between. I have JSN at number 1 with Puka at 3 with Ja'Marr Chase at 2. And then Davante Adams at 8. So a little bit lower on Adams, but you love both these Rams wide receivers in this matchup against the Lions.
Yeah, we've talked about how beat up the Lions secondary is. Brian Branch being the latest victim. Terran Arnold was the guy early in the season. They just don't have a lot of people covering back there. It's pretty simple. I mean, these are two guys catching the passes most for the Rams. The Lions are okay against the tight end. They'll probably be worse without Branch, but Alex Anzalone is involved in that as well. You also can't run as easily on the Lions, so it makes a lot of sense. It's right on there on the silver platter for Sean McVay and calling the plays. Throw a lot to Nacua and Adams this week, all throughout the field. I think they can dominate this game. Look, I trust them more. They're at home. The Cowboys didn't come through. They kind of I don't know, quit. I don't know. And then CeeDee Lamb got hurt in that game. It was in Detroit. This one is in Los Angeles. The Rams have been carving up teams at home all season long, coming off a heater of a game last week against the Cardinals. So I don't think there's anything that we would say these guys are not going to go off in this game. And Detroit is going to come in and put up a fight as well. So you figure the passing volume has to be high this week for sure. So all that lines up really well. And we like Matthew Stafford this week. He was your number 1. He was my number 3. So all this adds up to these guys being right at the top.
Yeah, I really like both. I don't have Adams as high as you just because he's so touchdown dependent, but the Lions have allowed the second most receiving touchdowns to wide receivers this year. So he should come down with 1, if not 2, if not 3 in this game. So yeah, I really like him this week. Now, your 4, 5, and 6 go Ja'Marr Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Nico Collins. We're pretty similar on that. I have Chase at 2, Collins at 7, and Amon-Ra at 5. But one guy we're pretty different on is Rashee Rice. I have him all the way up at 4. You have him down at 12. I get it. It's a super tough matchup against the Chargers, who have allowed the second fewest fantasy points to wide receivers this year. But A.J. Brown, he put up 6 receptions, 100 yards against the Chargers last week. Rashee Rice is getting so many targets. They need to get him even more involved than what they did last week. It was a really tough matchup against the Texans last week with just 5.4 points. He had 8 targets, but just 4 receptions for 34 yards. I think he bounces back in this game, even though it's a tougher matchup.
Yeah, I have him at 12 because the matchup is tough, but otherwise I would have him a few spots higher. Then there's a lot of players I do love. I mean, I like the Bengals combination against the Ravens, so that's another duo that should go off this week. I also like the Lions combination, the other side of that game against the Rams, and A.J. Brown has been hot. And then if you take away CeeDee Lamb, then Rashee Rice comes in potentially as a top 10 play this week. So I like him. He works the slot, which is a really good matchup against this team for sure. I mean, same thing with Amon-Ra. I think he can destroy the slot in his matchup as well. So I think you look at this matchup, 2 kind of LA teams that are not very good in the nickel package, right? So go after them. Rice will be fine. I'm a little bit worried on the front end of this, right? The way Mahomes is playing, the meltdown here. Is this going to be an ugly defensive battle? But we've seen Rice be the only thing that works in an ugly defensive battle. So that could be it. I mean, it might be hard to extract points from other Chiefs players in this game. other than Rice, to be honest. So, again, he's probably the one Chief I would play. The Charger is a little bit tougher. Like on one Charger I would play to stand out. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, he's the only Chief I'm excited about this week. You're right on AJ Brown. You have him at 7. I have him at 9. Like he's been doing well, even though the Eagles have not. And then with CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins, you got to watch if they can get through the concussion protocol. It seems like Lamb is on track. Apparently, T. Higgins is also limited, but that's wild to have 2 concussions in a matter of 3 weeks and to play. That seems really sketchy. But if they play, they're in your lineups for sure, both of those guys. Now, George Pickens, I think, is a tough one to rank this week because he's been so good. But last week he came down crashing, right? In a nice matchup against the Lions. He had 9 targets, but only 5 receptions, 37 yards. The Vikings, who they face this week, actually have the toughest defense against fantasy wide receivers this season. And the last 2 weeks, they held both Jackson Smith-Njigba to pretty much nothing. And he's been balling out every other game. Terry McLaurin was held in check last week too by the Vikings. But we both are ranking Pickens pretty high, even though it's a tough matchup. I have him at 10. You have him at 11. The thing is, the Cowboys offense at home, I just trust them to not be able to be stopped by the Vikings.
Yeah, George Pickens also seems to play better at home and motivated. I mean, I think it's the entire team plays better at home, including Dak Prescott, right? And the other thing is, again, the CeeDee Lamb situation. We'll see about the clearance. It should happen, I think, because he had the extra few days to go because they played on Thursday. But it doesn't really matter if they're both out there. CD is only going to help Pickens a little bit more. He'll draw the coverage attention. We saw that you can align some of those guys in slot. And then last week, I think numbers were quite inflated by their shutout against the Commanders. This is a different type of quarterback and receiving situation, road, prime time, all those things add up to George Pickens wanting to show up this week. So I think you're seeing some of that inconsistent, frustrating persona of George Pickens come into the Cowboys a little bit, but I think you'll see him get back on track this week.
Now, Jameson Williams, who you have is your wide receiver 10 against the Rams. I have him at 14. I really like Jameson Williams, though, this week as well. 4 out of the last 5 weeks. Great. They've been great. Scoring a lot of touchdowns as of late. Has 19 targets over the last 2 games. He's just necessary with Sam Laporta out now, right? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, and he's getting it done. The Rams are middle of the pack against wide receivers, harder to run on. So I like Jameson Williams this week. I didn't get him as high as you, but I do like him a lot.
Yeah, that's a good call. And again, just their whole receiving core is banged up, right? We saw that we didn't have Brock Wright in, Khalif Raymond. You had to see Isaac Tesla be more involved here as a third receiver. So basically, Williams is on the field all the time here, making plays with Amon-Ra. So you can't deny that. Now, I just want to can I just put Cardinals #1 receiver wherever I see Michael Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr. I think I just want to do that and just say, whoever's the starting #1 for the Cardinals this week, the X, put him in this slot. And that's where I ranked him. So Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, this guy's been in and out of the lineup. Looks like we're trending to see Wilson again in this role. I'm just going to cool off a little bit because the matchup is not so great, I don't think. So that's why I'm cooling off on just wanting to play him, but you're still very high on him this week. I have him at 41, so I'm not expecting anything really out of the Cardinals offense that's exciting this week.
If it was Marvin Harrison Jr., I would agree with you. I don't think either one would do either, but I think Michael Wilson in this role is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. And the reason I have him at 12 and not at 6 or at 5 is because of the matchup. Yeah, it's a super hard matchup. It's not going to be easy for him, but the numbers he's been putting up in this role, 18 targets, 15 targets, 16 targets, 185 yards, 118 yards, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns last week. Those are his 3 games without Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm still going to have him top 12. Definitely a super hard matchup, and that's why he's down at the bottom of the wide receiver ones. But I am still absolutely playing him if I roster him because it does look like Marvin Harrison Jr. will miss another week.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit worried. I don't know how this guy is a really low PFF grade. I guess he doesn't do a lot of things right, but Derek Stingley Jr. is probably going to cover him the whole game. And I think that's the hardest matchup he's had by far.
Derek Stingley Jr. is so good.
Yeah, so I don't understand. Well, his PFF grade is like atrocious, but I just look at this and I say that I think it's because he's pretty much a corner guy that is shutting down, doesn't give you much else on the field, which is okay. But I don't know. Like I'm just afraid the Cardinals are going to have trouble scoring points in this game.
Oh, they will. I think they
Yeah.
will, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just think he's going to get 15 targets again.
No,
So
no,
that's why
let's
he's up
hope.
there. Yeah.
Let's hope they'll be on the field for that long to do it.
We're going to move into our wide receiver twos now. We both agree that Terry McLaurin is a good play against the Giants, but we have some more difficult decisions to make as we go throughout our rankings. We'll get to that right after a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, including fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. My favorite for tonight's Thursday night football game is Baker Mayfield, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Falcons. And what's great about the app is that deposits and withdrawals are quick and easy, which keeps everything flowing. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Before we continue our wide receiver rankings, I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your fantasy team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Fantasy Football with no interruptions. Plus, you get members only Discord access and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year if you want to do a little savings. Go to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, let's continue our wide receiver rankings. At number 11, I have Jalen Waddle right ahead of Michael Wilson. You're right there with me with Waddle at 13. And then Terry McLaurin is a guy we both like this week as well. He disappointed last week in that tough matchup against the Vikings, but I have him at 13 this week against the Giants, and you have him at 16. The Giants are just a bad secondary, allowing the 4th most points to wide receivers. I think Marcus Mariota will target him a lot in this game.
Yeah, that was a good sign that Mariota and Terry McLaurin returned. He had a good game against the Broncos secondary. He's just a good player. And then Mariota is just going to get the ball to the primary guys as much as possible. Now, Zach Ertz is out of the equation, so you have a lot of Mariota throwing to Samuel and McLaurin in this game, and I think the Giants will also put up some points in this one against the Commanders defense. So it's going to be the sneaky game to target. I mean, I like kind of Darius Slayton for deeper league play. I like for sure Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson. So everybody lines up in this game that is in the passing game could have some success, as well as at least one running back, and I'm going to call that to be Devin Singletary. Don't want any part of the Commanders. But when you look at this, I think it just screams high volume game. Like Mariota's going to have to throw about probably 40 times in this one. That should open it up as well for the receivers. So it's going to be a sneaky, fancy game, and it's the one you want to sneakily put some eggs in the basket for DFS this week. I think it's going to be a points bonanza, and the Commanders are also going to want to make amends. They're not that terrible offensively. They shouldn't be shut out in any case. And when you rush back Jaden Daniels, who wasn't ready to play, that's what you get. Now you get Mariota, who is leading the offense well before they put Daniels in for no reason whatsoever in Minnesota.
Yeah, I know. Now, after McLaurin, I have Jameson Williams at 14, Tetairoa McMillan at 15, and Chris Olave at 16. You have Olave at 14 and Tetairoa McMillan at 17. It's really hard to rank these guys because we know they have the talent to have a really big game. They get targeted most of the time. McMillan only had 2 targets the last game against the Rams, but they're playing the same game against each other. Both are pretty difficult defenses. The Saints allowing the 11th fewest points to wide receivers, Panthers the 8th fewest points. So who are you more confident in this game? I know I said the rankings, but like if you had a bet on a guy to have a big game, which one do you feel better about?
Yeah, this one is very intriguing to me. Actually, it's double NFC South action. We get that as well on Thursday night, so it'll be interesting to see which receivers. I like Chris Olave a little bit more in this game on the road. I like the way Tyler Shuck is kind of balling right now, just taking chances, taking shots. They're aggressive, opening things up. I think McMillan's okay, but I think the Panthers are going to win this game. It's going to be kind of defensive oriented. I think they'll want to run the ball a little bit more. We'll see how it plays out between Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, but I think defense and running game. I also think the Panthers will play from ahead in this one. So I think it's pretty close. I'm not calling for either to score a touchdown in this one, especially McMillan, right? It's really hard for him to score. So I think it's pretty close, but Olave's just been on point. He had a nice game against them the first time as well in a different situation. So I like that. And then again, we can also say, get in your other receivers, right? It looks like we're going to see a Mike Evans return here on Thursday night, and you're also going to have Darnell Mooney maybe trying to build on some chemistry with Kirk Cousins. Remember, Cousins and Mooney kind of ripped the Buccaneers last year in a similar situation on Thursday. So, again, it's maybe good. All these South teams playing each other to give us good matchups.
Yeah, I actually really like Emeka Egbuka this week with Mike Evans back. And in this matchup, I mean, the Falcons have allowed the most points per game to wide receivers since week 8. Their defense is really, really fallen apart. And Mike Evans, I do think he'll be limited snaps, but he's going to help out this whole offense. Mike Evans, you can play, but it's definitely risky, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to need a big play or two.
Or touchdown,
I like Egbuka a bit better than Evans this week. And I have Egbuka all the way at 17. You're much lower on him. He's in your 30s at this point, which is fair. He's at 38 for you. I mean, he hasn't been doing anything. It's kind of just a gut feeling here with me that I think Egbuka will have a good game. He's still getting targets like crazy. I mean, even in the games he's sucking, 12, 9, 13, 9, 8, 8, 9. He's getting targets in this matchup with Mike Evans there to kind of like calm things down. I think for this whole offense, I do think he has a really good game. Now, DK Metcalf, you are really liking this week against the Dolphins. He had a really nice week last week, 12 targets, 7 receptions, 148 yards. But Miami is sneakily good against wide receivers, 9th fewest points to them this year, 3rd fewest yards per reception, which is really where DK Metcalf makes up all of his production with those deep throws. I still have him at 21. I think he's a fine play, but you're a bit higher at wide receiver 15.
Yeah, I think they unlocked him a little bit, and they said, look, we got to get him going every week. And I think they made a concerted effort to say this is the focal point of our passing game. He has to be. This should be the type of game or type of treatment he gets every week. I think they were trying to get too cute with the tight ends. Now you've had some injuries and ineffectiveness from that position. So you look at the other receivers. Do you want to get them going here? I think they're just going to pepper him with targets a lot in this game. And I think Aaron Rodgers did something last week where I think he was like, okay, we got to get my guy established, get him going, and make some plays for us, even when it's not always there, like put the ball up in the air a little bit. And we've seen that as well with his former teammate in college, A.J. Brown. Just put the ball up for this dude. They're strong. They're big. They can make plays even in tough coverage games. So I do have faith in Metcalf in this one. I just think the Steelers, look, now they're feeling it. They got the first place back. And look, they're not going to let down, I don't think, against the Dolphins on Monday night.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And also TJ Watt could be out. So the offense is really going to have to pick it up if that's the case. He's dealing with some lung issues right now. So keep an eye on that. We will take a quick break, get to the rest of our wide receiver rankings, including what to do with these Chargers wide receivers, these Packers wide receivers, and will Stefon Diggs have another big revenge game against the Bills? All of that up next.
All right, this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by an exciting new sponsor. It's Car Gurus. Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want, because when it comes to big purchases, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. Use Car Guru's deal ratings to compare cars quickly without having to guess whether the price is fair. The price drop alerts are a lifesaver. You get notified the second a car you're watching becomes a better deal. Having verified dealerships and upfront pricing makes the whole thing feel transparent and stress-free. Only at Car Gurus. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for transparent, hassle-free buying process with more than 4 million listings, the most of any major online marketplace with automotives. You'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com. This episode is also brought to you by ZocDoc. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026. And those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. Real appointment times are listed, including same-day visits. No more back-and-forth phone calls or waiting weeks to be seen. And with ZocDoc, it lets you compare providers using real patient reviews, not ads. Makes it simple to keep your health a priority, even with a busy schedule. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, it is time to get into our next wave of wide receiver rankings. We cross over from the threshold of wide receiver 2, the top 24, into the top 36 flex plays. All right, one guy we get back from bye as well this week, Stefon Diggs. And now he's got a revenge game, part 2, against the Bills. They're at home. This is an interesting matchup. I saw like T. Higgins, he's got similar attributes that he can move around, run good routes. Jamar Chase also did some damage. And you have Christian Benford, but he's more of a big play guy than a shutdown guy. How do you like Diggs this week, Michelle? I think he's a play. I just don't know like how excited about him I am this week. I think he's got a solid floor.
Yeah, it's hard to rank Diggs. I have him right in the range of like a low end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 flex type of play. Last 2 games have been terrible by him, right? I mean, it's been 7 combined points over the last 2 games that they played. And there are 2 good matchups against the Giants and the Bengals. The last time he played the Bills in week 5, I mean, he definitely did the whole revenge game thing, right? He had his best game of the season with 146 yards and 10 receptions. But the Bills Jamar Chase did very, very little this past week against them. DK Metcalf the week prior did nothing against them. Now, DK has had a lot of games like that. So maybe last week was just a fluke with Jamar Chase because T. Higgins had a fine game. I do think Christian Benford is playing lights out and playing really, really well. But that's my concern with Stefon Diggs if Benford is on him a bunch. But it doesn't seem like Benford travels. So I think Stefon Diggs is a fine play. Definitely has a floor, but he does also have a ceiling. So I like him. I like Wan'Dale Robinson, though, a little bit more than him this week for the Giants against the Commanders. I actually have Robinson all the way at 19. You're a bit lower on him because you like both Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson as flex plays this week. So I like Wan'Dale as like a wide receiver 2 play. You're bringing him down because you like both Slayton and Wan'Dale as flex plays this week.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you look at the Commander secondary, they give up a lot of big plays, also quickness, and Robinson kind of fits that mold where he'll get the short pass. It's kind of like a duel here between Samuel and Robinson, and then going deeper, Terry McLaurin and Darius Slayton, right? It's going to be interesting because Slayton has also been involved. He's got some motivation here. I mean, he's played pretty well with Malik Neighbors out. He's just been hurt a lot, right, for what Jackson Dart needs. So it'll be an interesting game where I think these guys will all get open. It's hard to say who's going to have the bigger game, but I do like the field stretchers a bit in this one. I do like the ability of Slayton to get downfield. The Commanders do give up some big plays that way. And then on the other side, the Giants give up their share of big plays. So you got all this going on with Slayton and McLaurin. I think that'll also help Robinson and Samuel. So they're all plays to me. I just like the outside guys a little bit more than the inside guys, or whatever you want to call it, or the short area guys. So, I mean, yeah, so play them all. Like if you have a shot at doing it, even down to flex, make sure you get the Giants and Commanders receivers in your lineups.
Now, one guy you're a lot more confident in than me is Michael Pittman Jr. At wide receiver 22. I was shocked by that against the Seahawks in Seattle. I have him at wide receiver 35, and I was thinking that might even be too high. Seahawks are such a good secondary, right? Fourth fewest points to wide receivers, but the only reason they're even fourth fewest is because they had some secondary issues with injuries in the middle of the year, like early middle of the year. But with their guys healthy, they're so good. And we've seen two floor games from Pittman two of the last 4 weeks. So 2 points and 1 point. In between that was 11 points and 12 points. But I'm not risking a 1 point game to get 12 points. I don't want to do that. And this matchup is so hard, and we don't know who the quarterback is. And if it's Phillip Rivers, you're really trusting that, or if it's Riley Leonard, I don't know. It's hard for me. I can't play Michael Pittman this week.
All right, here's what I'm thinking as I'm looking at the practice and all this. Like, I'm looking at Phillip Rivers talking to Shane Steichen, and he's like, which of these dudes is most like Keenan Allen, and who should I throw to? And he's like, and maybe I'm biased because I saw him throw a few passes in practice to Michael Pittman. They were spot on, and he was like, oh, this might be my dude this week. So this is what I'm kind of leaning toward here. If it's Phillip Rivers, I think Pittman is going to be the go-to guy, and he's going to go nuts targeting it. Okay. That means you're not going to see a lot of Alec Pierce, probably. Rivers is a tight end guy, but I think if you make Pittman the guy, he's going to see which of these dudes is like Antonio Gates, so that kid. So when you look at it, you're going to be like Pittman and Warren. And I think Shane Steichen, they have that good chemistry from going all the way back to the Chargers. So they're going to find some parallels to what they did there. So I'm not feeling Pierce or anything else or that. I think it's going to be a lot of short passing to Pittman, Warren, and let's hope Jonathan Taylor a little bit, right? I mean, Seahawks give up some yards to the inside there. So I think it's a lot of inside, quick, short passing. That's the only hope I think the Colts have in this game to even keep up with the Seahawks. And I think, again, I'm up in the Seahawks play with the lead. It's a double digit, and you get a lot of garbage from Rivers in the second half, thrown in the middle of the field, protecting against a big play.
And now Pittman is the only one that Phillip Rivers also has the familiarity with. Right. The last time that Rivers was
there. I know this guy, I
guess. Yeah. Pittman was a rookie in 2020 when Rivers was last there. So they had played together before. So there's that. But it's really the matchup for me. That's what I'm so nervous about. And Pittman's been all over the place. So it's going to be a risky one, but I did like your arguments there. Now, what about the Chargers wide receivers? It's not even so much about the matchup at this point, because it's not like the Chiefs are shut down against wide receivers, but they're not the easiest of matchups. But the Chiefs' last 3 games, no wide receiver has had more than 11.9 fantasy points in half PPR. And that's the most. It was Ladd McConkey in week 13 with 11.9. After that, it's Quentin Johnston with 9.8 and Keenan Allen with 7.3 in week 11. But the numbers for these guys have been atrocious the last 3 games. What are you doing with them heading into this week against the Chiefs?
It's so hard, Michelle. Like, I have Ladd McConkey, and it's really hard to watch just them struggle so much to get the ball to any of these guys consistently. It was like clockwork. Remember early in the season, we were buzzing. It was like, here's Quentin Johnston, here's Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey get going, and then he gets going in about the middle of the season, then all 3. And then Oronde Gadsden popped up, and he was a thing for a while. And then they all broke out. Yeah, I mean, part of it is, look, Justin Herbert is just trying to save his life at this point. People are just coming at him. I mean, the sacks, was it 7 for the Eagles last week? I mean, they might have had another one that I missed later in the game, but they definitely had 7. The one maybe thing you can help, the Chiefs pass rush has stunk all season long. So now we'll see. Something's got to give. Do the Chargers look terrible? And the Chiefs do have some players like Chris Jones that could get after the quarterback, or does that trend continue where the Chiefs don't put a lot of pressure on? That all of a sudden says, okay, he can throw the ball to some dudes and we can feel a little bit better about it, right? So it is so hard right now. Like, he's just kind of ducking for cover. But if I say anyone that's going to do the thing, I trust McConkey because I think he's the best of those three receivers in terms of being able to run routes and get open. I think he'll probably have the best matchup there. I think McDuffie can probably erase any downfield stuff with Quentin Johnson. He's dead, right? Mm-hmm. When you can't sit back and throw deep, your deep guy is pretty much gone. So, I mean, so it has to be McConkey to me, and Allen has disappeared. So I think this has to be a McConkey-Gadsden game. We'll see how it plays out. But again, the front end with no Joe Alt, no Rashawn Slater, this is the hard part for the Chargers in the passing game.
Yeah, McConkey is the only one I have ranked as a viable wide receiver 3 this week. I have him at 26. I don't know if I feel good about that ranking, but the other two guys, in Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson, I definitely don't want to play. Now, Ricky Pearsall, I have ranked actually really high this week at 28 against the Titans. I know he's been doing absolutely nothing since coming back from the injury, but I think this is the week that he can make that comeback. Had a couple of hard games over the last 2 weeks against the Panthers. I mean, they only put up 20 points, right? And then at Cleveland. Those are not easy matchups. This Titans game, though, is very, very great. The Titans have allowed the 9th most points to wide receivers, 4th most since week 4. So I really like Pearsall this week. I think he has a good game. But I have a question for you. Would you rather go Jaden Higgins against the Cardinals, Jaden Reed at the Broncos, Ricky Pearsall against the Titans, or Brian Thomas Jr. against the Jets? Rank those guys for me.
Yeah, I think looking at this, let me consult my rankings. I have Brian Thomas at 25. I have Jaden Higgins at 31. I have Jaden Reed at 33. And Ricky Pearsall, I'm just not 100% sure we'll see him at full speed, right? That's my concern. It is after a bye. So it's a volatile play. Matchup wise, I want to trust Ricky Pearsall. Mm-hmm. But will the usage be there for Ricky Pearsall? Or the targets, right? Yeah. If it's a George Kittle smash game or McCaffrey, they get up way ahead. They're not going to just force feed Pearsall in this game. So if I go straight by my rankings, I like Brian Thomas Jr. along with Jacoby Myers. That's another good duo getting it going. I mean, ever since Myers has been there, Lawrence has been good. The offense has been better, and they get the Jets this week. The Jets are beatable, and just a matter of how much the Jaguars are going to throw in that game. Same thing with the Texans, right? That's hard. You don't know how much you're going to throw against the Cardinals, right? But Jaden Higgins has been getting open and being productive there. And Jaden Reed, the thing about him, he's got to get those wrinkle plays. He's got to get a rush. He's got to get a gadget, deep play to really get it. But they're going to put the ball in his hands quite a bit, I think, to generate some offense against the Broncos. So, again, a lot of these guys are big play or touchdown dependent. A lot of these guys in the back end to determine their value. But I think these are all floor plays, but I'm not going to be excited by any of their ceilings.
I think that is all fair. That will be it for today's episode. Thank you again for tuning in today to Locked On Fantasy Football. Tomorrow we'll get into our Week 15 sleepers and DFS plays of the week. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Fantasy Football so you get all the latest episodes. And if Locked On Fantasy Football made your Spotify wrap, prove it on social media to secure the free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our National Locked On Podcast Network account on any social media platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. We will talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.